Yeah, so I know that it has been a really long time, but I've been trying to figure a couple things out. I was brought to my attention that it would be kind of neat if I had a background behind me instead of the same old background that I've always used. So we're going to try this out, see if it works. Please let me know what you think. Like it, don't like it, whatever. We have a lot to talk about, right? Because a lot happened this weekend. We had interesting things come up last night on Monday Night Raw. So let's get the highlights. Kind of recap some stuff. The Women's Survivor Series War Games match was great. All of the women proved exactly why they are in this company doing what they do at the top of their game, right? It was neat to see Charlotte and Becky on the same team again. We'll see where we go from there. We don't know 100% where we go from there with that. Especially considering that with all of the women in the War Games match, Becky is the only one that was actually on Monday Night Raw. Everyone else is from SmackDown. So that also made it somewhat interesting. Gunther and Miz. So this goes partly in with Monday Night Raw and ties in there too. So Miz gave Gunther a hell of a fight. He did. Even going low at one point, which is a little bit more of a heelish move, and we're kind of seeing more of a babyface Miz right now, but it was a good match. Miz was so close to getting that IC title. Moving to Monday Night Raw, where it concerns these two, Gunther is looking for his next opponent, and Miz is pretty determined that he's going to be that next opponent. But he's gonna have to get himself back there, I think, to qualify for that. Whether or not they end up going with a rematch between Miz and Gunther, I am not 100% sure yet. I don't think it was said specifically for certain whether or not that was going to be Gunther's next match last night, but that is what Miz would like to see. We then had Rhea Ripley and Zoe Stark. Zoe had a great showing. She really did. She was not able to get the Women's World Championship, but she definitely proved she's in that conversation. What is next for Rhea? I'm not 100% sure yet. It could be Nia. Nia did take on Zoe and won against Zoe last night. Again, not sure how I feel about that. As much as I'm not necessarily a huge fan of Nia, says she has been back. She's not been awful in the ring. Not super terrible on the microphone. As long as she's used properly and continues in that vein, I think it'll be okay. And Nia could be Rhea's next opponent. It's hard to say. I don't know if I'm ready to see Nia as a champion again yet. We will see. So let's talk about the men's War Games match, because this is where one of the biggest prizes, to some extent, happened at War Games. So we had Judgment Day joined by Drew McIntyre, Cody, Seth, Randy, Jay, Sammy, except Randy hadn't shown up yet. So when their last team member was supposed to join, which was supposed to be Randy, his music did not hit. He was not in the cage with the rest of the guys waiting to make their entrance. Instead, Rhea comes out with the briefcase and an official. Seth had just went through favors. So this could have ended up meaning a new World Heavyweight Champion in the form of Damian Priest. I would not have necessarily hated this, because I think Damian is at that place where he would make a good champion, but I don't know that this is that place. But before Rhea could get to the ring and turn in the briefcase, Randy's music hit. He was back. He opened up the show last night. It was amazing. He was in great shape. It is so nice to have Randy back. His music always just really gets you moving. He gets you involved in whatever storyline he has going on. So, one of the interesting things about this, though, that was brought up last night, so when Randy was put on the shelf, so to speak, he had to have surgery done, it was in a tag team match. Jimmy and Jay. So now he's going to team with Jay Uso. So one of the two responsible for that hiatus. Last night he talked about taking out the bloodline and collecting his receipts, as he put it. And him and Jay had a conversation. And what it came down to is that as long as Jay was no longer part of the bloodline, which he clearly has cut all ties from that, and Randy made it clear that he'd been watching what he was doing on Monday Night Raw since Steve's return. And as long as there is no sign of him having anything to do with the bloodline, they're good. He does not consider him part of that group that owes him for any of that. So that's interesting. Now, where exactly he goes from here, we don't know for certain. He did have a match against Dominic that he won last night. And I think that was probably good for Dominic to be in the ring with someone like Randy. And I think that Dominic can learn a lot from him. It was also very interesting that Rhea came out and essentially interrupted Randy at the beginning of the show, which is what set up the match. But probably the part of that promo that hit me the most was she claims that she is mommy, right? And that things have changed since Randy had been gone for a year. And Randy says, yeah, you're absolutely right, things have changed. But Daddy's home. So this starts planting that seed, right? She calls herself mommy, and he has now said Daddy is home. And is he wrong? No, I don't think he is. To be honest. So if they go somewhere with this, I think it would be interesting. But I don't know whether they do or not. We will have to see if they do or not. So, last but not least, concerning Saturday and Survivor Series, at the end of the show we have CM Punk returning. Now granted, a surprise, yes. At the same time, it is his hometown, so there was speculation. Of course, there always will be. Right? Anytime WWE goes to Chicago, oh God, that's the home of CM Punk. Is he going to return? And I never honestly really thought that I was going to see him returning to WWE. I had a hard time thinking that he was going to join AEW, but he did. I don't know entirely exactly how I feel about it. just yet. It's going to take time to see what they end up doing with him, that kind of thing. His reaction to the people backstage, whether or not he's going to be an issue for them backstage, because that was the concern in AEW, right? He's always been one of those people. And so, if he can control himself there, I think we'll be okay, and I think he will be an asset to the company. Now, the interesting part about CM Punk's return that also ties into Raw is Seth Rollins' reaction. Many of us saw this over the weekend as videos got out over the internet. He was not pleased at all. He had a very strong reaction and definitely had to be held back by security, by commentating staff. Here's how I feel about that. If they can work together, if CM Punk and Rollins can control themselves enough to actually have a storyline, because of the passion involved in this and the feelings of both of these guys, I think it would make for a awesome feud. But they need to be able to work together. This is one thing that I don't think we always take into consideration as fans. We understand the different things going on behind the scenes, right? The passion behind two different rivals. And on the surface, it looks like this would be a perfect feud. There's a passion and drive behind these two, wanting to go after each other, be amazing, electric, right? The problem is that they have to be able to get along. Because if you start a feud with these two and they cannot make it work in that ring, you're not going to actually get the feud that we envision on paper and on the surface. You're not really going to get that. So, if they can make that work, I think it would be an awesome feud for both of them. Just because there is so much raw passion there, so much emotion there for both of them. So let's touch on some things from Monday Night Raw. We had Randy open. He was going to face Dominic. He will win that match. We then have the number one contender turmoil match for the tag team title. The title's not necessarily being on the line itself, but the number one contenders will be determined by this. So, we started out with Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, DIY, taking on Akira Tozawa and Otis. Then the Creed brothers would come out and replace Akira Tozawa and Otis. They would defeat Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, bringing on Imperium, who they would defeat. And they would also defeat Indus Sher, and still not really connecting with Indus Sher. So I don't know what they're eventually going to do to try to get us to care about them. But, yeah. We then have the New Day that then came out. End of the day, the Creed brothers are the number one contenders. How I feel about them. They're going to be a very talented tag team. They are. Both of them are amazing athletes. They are just joining Monday Night Raw. And I don't know that they're ready for those undisputed tag team titles. So now they're going to be taking on the Judgment Day. And I just don't see them winning against Judgment Day. So that is the issue. As talented as they are, I don't want to see them just knocked down by Judgment Day. but I don't think there's going to be a choice but to have that be what ends up happening. But I think they're going to give them a good run for their money. So overall, it's going to be okay. What do we have done next? Okay, so we also learned that we have our first official entrance for the Royal Rumble. That's right, it is still probably over a month away, which at the end of the day, that's really only for maybe 5 weeks away, right? So it's not necessarily that early to start saying who's going to be in it, right? It's not terrible. 5 weeks out. So realistically, you have 5 Monday Night Raws, 5 SmackDowns, give or take, before we had the Royal Rumble. So now is when you do start to have those people saying, hey, I'm joining the Royal Rumble match, and that is Cody Rhodes, who is joining that. But before we get to that, before we get there, he is going to have to deal with Shinsuke Nakamura. And I am interested to see where this leads, because I think Cody Rhodes and Shinsuke could be a good feud. There's also some interesting things that happened with Nakamura, right? Because he comes out, he mentions something about chaos. So that's something we need to look a little bit more into. What did he mean by that? Is there something bigger that is going to be happening in WWE concerning Shinsuke and this chaos? When he came out, when the lights come back up, he's in the ring behind Cody, and he's praising with his red mist. So, I have to do some research to see exactly what this chaos may be referencing, and if the red mist ties in there somewhere. You can give us some answers there. But that is going to be interesting to find out more. I am definitely liking this version of Shinsuke. I am. It's great. We had Bronson Reed and Ivar double count out in that. It gives these two men something to do that doesn't have to do with the title, which I think is great. I think that is going to give them a way to shine heading into the Royal Rumble. I don't see any way that these two men are not part of the Royal Rumble. Nothing official there yet, but there it is. We had Nia Jax and Zoe. We talked about that a bit. We had Seth Rollins come on out. He, of course, does bring up in reference CM Punk. Because they're both somewhat making references, and when CM Punk comes out, he does somewhat make reference to the fact that not everyone was happy. Maybe we are going to get this feud. The main thing to take away from Seth Rollins coming on out is that he's putting his title on the line next week against Jey Uso. Drew is not happy about this at all. He is very upset. He really feels like he should get another opportunity. He wants another opportunity. He got very upset when he found out that it was going to be Jey. And actually, we did end up getting some blood drawn in that when he headbutted Seth. The interesting part, though, came when him and Sammy were talking backstage. Drew and Sammy. Sammy essentially telling him, I respect what you've been doing. all of this, but it is not Seth's fault that you are not getting this opportunity. At the end of the day, you had an opportunity, you lost, fair and square with no one to blame. So why do you think that you deserve another opportunity? So at the end of the day, Drew agrees. But he also states that he does need to start working his way back to earning that opportunity. That being said, he says the first part of that is going to be a match against him next week. So we are going to get Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn. That should be interesting. I think it's going to be. We then had the women's tag team championship match. Tegan Knox and Natalya tried to take that away from Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. Not successfully. And I'm still not entirely sure how I feel about Chelsea and Piper having the titles, but I don't hate it. If there's someone I would like to see take them away from them, honestly, it would be Iva Fire, Elbow Fire, and Isla Dawn. I would like to see them get the titles back. They are an amazing tag, and I would like to see them get that opportunity again. So, that is where we are at. We close up the show with CM Punk telling us he's home. We will see what this brings to us. What his feud is. I'm really kind of hoping it is him and Seth, if they can work that out. Because I think it's going to be a fire feud. I really do. So, that being said, we are going to be doing 2 videos a week is what I'm going to try. One for Raw, one for SmackDown. I found that it's really the best way if I'm going to use the background. Haven't really found a way to do both with it, so thank you guys. Let me know what you think of the background. Let me know what you think of this new format. Having the background and everything and doing them separately. Let me know what you thought about both Survivor Series and Monday Night Raw this week. Whether you agreed, disagreed with my takes on things and where things might be going from here. We'll see you guys